Meet Gary Johnson, a mild-mannered college professor whose idea of a wild night is feeding his cats and building birdhouses. To make ends meet, he supplements his teaching income by working tech support for the New Orleans Police Department's undercover sting operations. But during a routine job, his colleagues Claudette and Phil break the news that their usual fake hitman, Jasper, just got suspended. With a client already waiting, the team straight up forces a terrified Gary to step up and wear the wire. Before he goes in, Jasper tells Gary he needs to project the aura of a cold-blooded killer, which is a massive stretch.
You can't show any weakness.
So, Gary walks into the diner, absolutely convinced he's going to blow the whole operation and get himself killed. But the moment he sits down with the client, Gary surprisingly slips right into a hardened, intimidating persona, looking like a discount Anton Chigurh.
Yeah, man.
He completely improvises, spinning a dark, detailed tale about a bayou burial to hook the guy. Crazy enough, the client buys every single word and hands over the cash, sealing his own fate. As the cops swoop in to make the arrest, Gary realizes he low-key loved the adrenaline rush. Back at the precinct, the boss decides Gary is their new full-time fake hitman, leaving Jasper completely sidelined. Gary explains that real hitmen are just a pop culture myth, but his job is to become that exact fantasy for the clients. For example, for a gritty local, he transforms into a terrifying backwoods enforcer. He starts meticulously tailoring different assassin personas, using makeup and props to match what each target expects. For a wealthy socialite, he plays a refined, high-end professional straight out of a Daniel Craig Bond movie. He even deals with a teenager trying to put a hit out on his own mom, securing the confession without breaking character. Later on, Gary runs into his pregnant ex-wife, Alicia, and casually mentions he's been researching how people can actually change their personalities. Meanwhile, Gary's high success rate makes him the star of the department, while a sidelined Jasper stews in the corner. Turns out, the team officially benched Jasper for beating up teenagers, telling him to keep his mouth shut. Right about then, Gary preps for his next sting by looking up his target, Madison, who has zero criminal record. Gary shows up at a local diner in full Ron mode to meet her. Madison confesses she wants her controlling, abusive husband dead because she's terrified of him. But instead of getting her to incriminate herself, Gary breaks protocol and tells her to use the hit money to start a new life. He calls the team to report a bust, lying that Madison just got cold feet. Jasper bursts in, furious that Gary let a potential arrest slip through his fingers. Gary brushes it off and continues his undercover work, adopting wild personas to catch people trying to hire killers. A few days pass, and while chilling with his cats, Gary gets a surprise text from Madison inviting him to a dog rescue. He decides to show up as Ron, and Madison happily reveals she finally left her husband and got her own place. They grab drinks, and Madison playfully grills him about the realities of being a professional hitman. The chemistry is undeniable, and they end up back at her place for a passionate hookup. Gary quickly realizes that embodying Ron makes him a much more confident and adventurous lover. The lines start blurring as Gary teaches his psychology class about the constant struggle between the primal id and the moral superego. He keeps up his day job, pulling off ridiculous stings, like posing as a creepy guy with a red bob. But his nights are consumed by Madison, who fully buys into the danger of dating a hitman. She even takes him to the shooting range, completely unaware she's actually dating a nerdy college professor. Then, Madison's abusive ex-husband, Ray, suddenly appears out of nowhere, looking for a fight. Gary doesn't hesitate, instantly pulling a gun on Ray like a seasoned Sopranos extra and forcing him to back down. Instead of being terrified, Madison is incredibly turned on by Gary's protective, dangerous hitman persona. Things get super complicated when Jasper, the corrupt undercover cop Gary works with, walks into the diner. Jasper almost recognizes Madison from her sting operation, leaving Gary sweating bullets. The next day, Gary gears up for another undercover sting, completely unaware of who the client is. He sits down at the diner, only to realize the man trying to hire him is Ray. Ray wants his wife dead, meaning Gary is literally being hired to assassinate the woman he's banging. Gary manages to spook Ray out of the hit by describing the murder in horrifying, gruesome detail. Panicking, Gary rushes to Madison's house and reveals that Ray just tried to take a contract out on her life. A few days later, Gary is called into the police station and hit with a massive bombshell. Ray has been murdered. The police reveal Ray was killed by a single gunshot, and Madison is their prime suspect. Knowing he needs to protect her, Gary shows up at Madison's house to figure out what really happened. She flat out admits she killed him, forcing Gary to quickly use his phone's notes app to formulate a plan. Through the screen, he finally drops his hitman persona, confessing that he actually works for the cops. He carefully feeds her a fabricated alibi, ensuring she knows exactly what to say for the upcoming recording. Back at the precinct, Gary gets wired up, hoping the staged conversation will clear Madison's name. But Jasper isn't buying it, revealing he remembers seeing Gary and Madison together at the diner. In the surveillance van, Jasper corners Gary, making it crystal clear he knows Gary is the mysterious boyfriend. Gary arrives at Madison's house and immediately flashes a message on his phone,
There's a
warning
bunch
her
of
that
shit
police
coming
are
down that
listening.
we gotta figure out quick.
He types out instructions for her to deny everything, while he verbally acts like Ron interrogating.
Kill him?
Out in the surveillance van, Jasper and Phil listen intently, completely oblivious to the silent communication. Madison delivers a flawless performance, acting deeply offended that Ron would accuse her of murder. Gary guides her through the trickiest part, silently prompting her to pin the life insurance motive on Ray's family. For the grand finale, Gary types out a cue for Madison.
Shit like that, and it would just go.
Madison goes all in, screaming at Ron to get the hell out of her house. Back in the van, Claudette buys the act completely, concluding Madison is innocent. But when Gary returns to Madison's house later, he finds Jasper sitting in the living room, slow clapping. Jasper reveals he figured out their little charade and knows Gary is the boyfriend who killed Ray. The corrupt cop lays out his terms. He wants his job back and a massive cut of the life insurance money. Out of nowhere, Jasper suddenly starts swaying and collapses hard onto the floor. Madison casually admits she spiked his beer with the same drugs Ray used. Realizing Jasper will wake up and ruin them, Gary ties a plastic bag over his head to suffocate him. So yeah, he's dead. With Jasper dead, their secret is finally safe, staged to look like a desperate suicide. Gary and Madison embrace, fully committing to their dark new reality together. Sometime later, Gary is back to his mild-mannered life, giving a final lecture to his college students. He tells them to seize the identity they want for themselves, clearly taking his own advice to heart. Fast forward, and Gary and Madison are living a picture-perfect suburban life with 2 kids. They share a happy family dinner, their murderous past completely buried under a slice of apple pie.